Hi, Gene here with today's thought. I hope you all have been watching, whether you're a liberal or a conservative, that all of you have been watching Tucker Carlson's show for the last 2 days. And there'll be another one today where he's been showing the footage. Remember that Kevin McCarthy, the majority leader in the House, gave 41,000 hours, all the security camera footage to Tucker Carlson. They actually didn't give it to him. They had to look at it at the House so they could make sure, so the House could make sure, Kevin McCarthy, that nothing that would compromise national security would be released. Apparently that hasn't happened. Some very interesting revelations have come out because of this footage. Too much to go through today, well, maybe ever. I'll try to cover something in a short video later, but I don't think you could in a short video. There's so much that happened. Well, two things that were interesting. There was, first of all, the former Steve Sund, the former S-U-N-D, Sund, the former chief of the Capitol Police, was interviewed by Carlson and said that it took him 71 minutes to get any help. He called for backup, got no help, and he had wanted help before. The point is, I don't want to get into that right now, as I said. The point is, the most interesting thing that he said is that he was never called to testify before the January 6th committee. And there was another officer, high-level officer, said the same thing. He was saw all the problems with, he was there, he saw all the problems with the security, and he said they were given no, even though we know now that the FBI knew, they had intelligence that something like this could happen, and the Capitol Police got no notice of this. But again, he never got to testify to any of that to the January 6th committee simply because he wasn't called. And that shows you how biased, that's just one example, many, many more, of how biased this committee was. I mean, another example, I guess, if you want, is that Nancy Pelosi picked all the members of the committee, picked the Republican members of the committee too, and there were only two members. There should have been five, and it's always been each side picks their own participants in the committee. Obviously, they didn't want these questions asked. They didn't want these witnesses called. They would be called by the Republicans if they were able to. You have to remember, during the impeachment, the trial of the impeachment hearings in the House about impeaching Donald Trump, that everything that the Republicans wanted to do had to be vetted by Jerry Nadler, by the chairman of the Democratic chairman of the committee at the time, and the Republicans at that time weren't allowed to call witnesses. So you see what the bias is, and that's why I want to get to this accusation by all these Democrats and these Democratic, the media, all MSNBC, CNN, all of them, NBC, that all these media who had no interest in seeing any of this footage during the January 6th trial hearings, but now I keep mixing them up. The trial was in the Senate. The hearings were in the House. I don't want to get into how the government functions right now, but it's just interesting that they had no interest in this footage, and suddenly they did because Tucker Carlson got to look at the footage. Now suddenly everybody wants to release it, and they said there's this accusation, including by Mitch McConnell of all people, which is why he has to go, but that's another story. I mean, be in the Senate, fine, but he should not be majority leader. If I were Donald Trump, and if Trump runs and wins in 2024, he should flatly say that if the Senate makes McConnell majority leader again, that he simply won't work with them. McConnell really loves, the most important thing to him is to get conservative justices on the court, and Trump should just flatly say, either in private or public, but maybe in public, he will not be sending any judges to the Senate, nominating any judges as long as Mitch McConnell is majority leader. But I'm getting off track here, so to get back on track, all these people accusing Tucker Carlson of bias, and now they're accusing him of bias, that he's not showing the whole story, that he is showing only things that look, that quote unquote look good, that show people just wandering around the Capitol and not causing any harm. But here's the point. The January 6th committee, whatever they're accusing Carlson of doing, that's what the January 6th committee actually did. And there's all Carlson is doing is showing the footage that the January 6th committee, they had the footage that they refused to show. He's interviewing the people, including the chief, the then chief of he retired, the then chief of the Capitol Police. He's interviewing the people that the January 6th committee would not interview, would not have testify. He's getting their testimony now. But what you have to keep in mind, because they're saying this out of context, again, he's only showing things that the January 6th committee didn't show, but the whole point of the January 6th committee had nothing to do with ensuring that another January 6th committee riot would happen, not placing blame, which belongs to Nancy Pelosi. She was offered by Donald Trump 22,000 or 20,000 national security troops, and she turned them down. But again, that's getting off track. The whole point is that all they want to do is get Trump, and they wanted to create this narrative that it was an insurrection, even though nobody had guns there. There was no people wandering around, even unarmed people rioting. It just, the idea that they were going to take down the entire government, the federal government, is really ridiculous. But the point is that to support this narrative, now I'm getting to the point finally, you can be sure that the January 6th committee showed the worst, the most damaging footage that they could show. So there's no out of context business about whether Carlson showed it, because the January 6th committee already showed the most damaging footage there is. There's nothing that Carlson has in those 41,000. If there was anything more damaging than what if there was anything that was more damaging to Donald Trump and the MAGA crowd, the MAGA Republicans, if there was anything more supportive of the January 6th committee's narrative, you can be sure they would have shown it. So if they didn't show it, that means it doesn't exist. There is no bias. This is the whole point. You have everything. Now you have the context. You have everything that the January 6th committee showed. You have everything that now that Carlson is showing, and now we, the people, can decide. And I'm with the press on this time. The late press, however late they are, is, just put all the footage out there. Put all the footage, and it wouldn't be 41,000 hours, by the way, because a lot of the footage, we know, is just of empty rooms, because it's all the security footage of the entire Capitol. So obviously there were certain rooms they didn't go into every representative's office, for instance, where there would be security cameras, or in the halls or whatever. So a lot of the footage is just empty rooms. But now we will see all the footage, and there will be another showing tonight. Carlson is on 8 o'clock Eastern time, so that's 7 o'clock where I am in Tennessee. You can check your own local time zone, but you should be watching it. If you miss it, then go on YouTube. I'm sure you can see it, or Rumble, and I'm sure you can see a replay. And that's my thought for today. Thanks for stopping by. I would love to see you all again, so maybe subscribe so you'll know when I post another video. And I welcome your comments too, whether you're a liberal or a conservative. And that's it. Bye.